Afternoon, people. Random show, I know. I prefer doing a random, easy and go. Just looking at the system we are in at the moment, the trouble that Spurs are in at the moment. Is it that much of a bad situation we are in? I mean, at the moment, I look at it, it almost looks like we got death looking down on us because no matter what we seem to do, it's just going wrong at the moment. I mean, the amount of injuries we've got is crazy. How are we going to fix this? How are we going to fight it? What are we going to do to get ourselves out of this sort of trouble? I must admit, I am very stuck on this one because with the amount of injuries we do have, you know there's going to be more coming. And that's not just being negative, that's being realistic. I mean, if you look at just the Christmas fixtures we've got here, City, West Ham, Newcastle, Forest, Everton, Brighton, Bournemouth. It isn't looking good, that's for sure. The other thing I had to look through, I just wanted to know exact times and that. Dates that these players are going to be out for. It's cold now. Should put the heating on. So I decided to get my snake out, Mystique. She keeps me warm. But some would say I'm crazy for putting a snake around my neck. I've had her for 12 years. She's no trouble to no one. I'll probably say that and she'll probably start strangling me. But that's what I feel like doing anyway, looking at the news we got here. Right. Romero, suspended for red card, 3 games on Chelsea, 6th of November. Misses Wolves, Villa and Man City. Our next big game. Van der Ven, hamstring against Chelsea again. Likely a couple of months. If it's a really bad tear, he's going to be lucky if he's back in 3 months, let alone 4 months. And then he's going to be sustainable to injury still, depending how quick we rush him in. So let's say March, if we're lucky. Sessegnon. I'm not even going to go through Sessegnon because I don't even know he's at the team anymore. I mean, you'd be surprised he's even in the squad. How long has it been since he's played for us now? I couldn't give you a date unless I check it up on the internet. I'm not going to waste my time with that. Phillips saying he's going to be out for a month as well. That's just our defence, but that's our main 2 key defenders out, and that is one of our biggest problems. But we will be getting Romero back. Now, the one that has really done me, I mean, like proper pissed me off. Bentancur comes back, looks good on the pitch, looks all right. Think, yeah, playing steady and everything, he'll definitely be able to cover us through December. Nope, not anymore. Knee injury in February, horrendous tackle by Cash. Now, you see on that one, I don't think it was a horrendous tackle by Cash. It definitely weren't friendly, that's for sure. But for me, it weren't quite a red card. Bit of a dirty kick, but it weren't a red card. But if you look at the injury that Bentancur's actually got, from what I've read, it's an ankle ligament injury. Cash didn't even kick him in the ankle. He kicked him clean in the shin. I personally think he already had a little knock on him from Uruguay, and we were just testing our luck. Well, that's one thing Spurs should learn to do, and that's not play with luck, because we don't seem to bloody have none of it, do we? So I don't believe Cash was the reason for Bentancur being out. But they're saying it's a ligament one, cruciate, could be out for 2.5 months. Another 2.5 months. And then he's got to try and get match fit and everything else again. I reckon we can say quite easily, I think we're going to be lucky if we see him more than a couple of times this season. The man's seeing damage now. We've got to fix him up properly. 110% before we put Bentancur back on the pitch. No chances, because if he gets one more injury like this, I can say that's a career changer. I mean, look what happened to Wanyama. After he'd done himself, tried coming back, injured it again, he never came back the same, did he? And he was a good player. Who else we got out? Basoma, One match ban for yellow card picked up against Wolves. Returns against Man City. But he has also picked up 6 yellow cards. But Basuma coming back is going to be a big one. Basuma coming back is definitely going to be something that we need in that midfield for the strength. Because otherwise we're going to be sticking with a Højbjerg and a Skip. And that just sounds scary on its own. Sarr, sick Villa, should be back for Man City. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that one and hope he is. And then we can at least say we've got Basuma and Sarr in the middle. And then what we do with the rest of it is all the messing about that I'm going to come to. Maddison, yep, back in New Year. No exact dates for him. I think we're going to be lucky if we see him by February. Because there is rumours that has he got a fracture in his foot? Is it down to ligament damages? I think they're still trying to work it out themselves. But again, definitely not looking good. Then we go to the upfront bit. I mean, we all knew Perisic was out anyway, so I suppose either way. But yep, that's Perisic out for the season. Solomon's going to be out for at least another couple of months with his knee injury. You won't see him back before, what, February, March, if we're lucky. And Richarlison as well. But they're saying there's possibilities he's going to be back before Christmas. So, where do we go? We've hardly got any subs on the bench that can make any sort of difference. And we are down to our skin and bones, basically, now. We are down to the basics. I do like what Ange tried with Villa. I do. He gave a couple of things a chance. He moved a couple of things about. Why? Because he had to. I know there was people still complaining about it, but you make a room of people a cup of coffee, and there's always going to be that one who wants a cup of tea. You just can't win it all. In the middle, yes, I do agree with others that he should have given Dorrington a go. He could have done that in either Wolves or Villa. Because if he goes and does that now with City, I wouldn't say that's the right idea. But then there's some people saying that this game against City is just basically, it doesn't matter because we're out there to lose it anyway. I can see why people got that attitude, but I don't like that attitude. Even when you got your worst team out there, you should still be going to at least try and get a point, try and get a win, try and do something. Not just go out there to take the smallest beating you can, basically. And I think that's how a lot of people are looking on this game with City. Yeah, I personally think we're going to get ruined as well. But do you know what would be the most amusing thing? Is if we go and beat City. If we go and beat City and then go and lose our next 2 games, it'll be the most Spursy thing you could ever do. And do you know what? It would even make sense, most probably. It would even make some sort of sense. I mean, no one's expecting us to do it. So, yeah, chances are we could even go and beat City and then lose our next 2 games. It'd just be Spurs down to a T, wouldn't it? So what does he do with the defence? Yeah, hopefully Udogi's fit. He still don't look 100% on the pitch to me, but he's going to be fit enough to play, hopefully. Porro on the right. Davies going to go in the middle. Question is, what's he going to do with the next one? Is he going to stick with Royale? Is he going to go with Dyer? I truly hope not. Or would he actually take the risk on putting Dorrington in there? I wouldn't want him to do that. Not for this game. I mean, where the fella hasn't even played in the Premiership, and then you go and stick him on his first game against City, up against someone like Haaland. I don't think that would be good for his confidence. I just don't think that would be a smart move. So basically, he's going to have to stick with what he's got and then just make the decision of Dyer or Royale next to Davies. Doesn't sound good. There's not a lot I can say for it. There's nothing positive I can really say about this. So it could be called negative. To me, it's just being realistic. There is literally nothing positive you can say about that. Haaland is going to be looking, and City as a whole are going to be looking at that central defence and just thinking, we're going to take these to the cleaners. So what we got to do? The idea he had against Villa, that Ange had with Villa, was the right idea, I think. He went out there with the idea of, right, we're going to get 3 goals by half-time, finish them off in the first half. And we could have quite easily done that if our finishing weren't so bad. I mean, clinical is one thing we was not. Now, that is the thing that was bothering me more in the other games than the defence. Because to win a game, you've got to score goals. You've got to create chances. And without Maddison, everyone, me included, saying, we've got no one to create chances. Now, one player I'd been going on for a while, who we should give a go in the centre, if Maddison gets injured, was Kulusevski. I'd say he played about half the game as Cam and then moved out more to the right in the second half. But I think he had a very good game. He could have even got a hat-trick, the fella himself, if he'd have been kicking the ball straight. I mean, the first one, I can let him go for that. The first one, I can let that sink. He tried placing it, come off the inside of the post. The fella was unlucky. Other 2 chances he had, personally, I think he should have just drilled him in the back of the net. He should have just put it in the back of the net. And we had other chances as well where we could have been 3-1 up at half time. 3-1. And then they'd have only got their goal and we'd have still gone and had that 3-2. He got the right idea. But he hasn't got the backup to keep the style of play going. You cannot go on that pitch and play 90 minutes all out attack with your basic 11. You need to have players to come on to keep that going. Other one with it is maybe he could change the tactics a little bit and tell them at 30 minutes, 35 minutes, slow down a little bit. Give yourselves a bit of energy. Let's just ride this up. We're 1-0 up. Let's just ride it up to half time. But no, we kept going all guns blazing and we concede. Second half, obviously, you start, you go at them. But then I think he's got to tell them when to go and when to slow down. Do it in bursts. Not just all guns blazing 24/7. Because as you could see, we was done. We was dusted. We was worn out. We was knackered. But again, if we would have been more clinical, we would have had that game. We had it on a plate to an extent. Yes, they had chances as well. But their finishing wasn't great either. But what was it? 18 chances, 17 chances, something like that. And at least, if I remember right, give or take a number, about 8 on goal. And we get 1 goal out of it. That just shows how bad our finishing was on that day. I mean, thanks for the messages, everyone. I'm just going through them bit by bit. And with what we say here, I totally agree. With a defence like that, the only hope to beat City is play them at their home game and dominate possession. It's a tough ask. You know what? I totally agree with you, mate. Because the thing is with it, it's a bit of a catch-22 situation. If we just lay back on this one and try and do a defensive one, like a Conte style, which we all know isn't Ange style, we haven't got the defence to do that. We get torn apart. But then the other problem is with it, is if we go all guns blazing and go in there and steam for it against someone like City, they are going to open us up on a counter so many times. This game has got a 4-0 or a 4-1 written all over it, in my opinion. But again, it would just be the most Spursy thing you could do to go and win the game and then go and lose our next 2 games. I mean, after City, like I showed on the fixtures, West Ham. West Ham may be a game we should win. But again, look at the injuries we've got. Look at the lack of subs bench we got. And the thing is with games like West Ham, Chelsea, Fulham, Palace, Arsenal, they're all London derbies. And someone could be at the top of the table, the way I see it. Someone could be almost at the bottom of the table. But you can take all that out of the picture. Because when it's a London derby, it gets personal. And then when it gets personal, it can definitely get a bit more fiery on the pitch. a bit more violent. It's easy to say players can get sent off in those games. Players can have funny games. I mean, look at us against Chelsea. What the hell happened there? We just totally lost the plot. It was a London derby. On another random game, would we have gone that crazy in a situation like that? Probably not. But either way, whether people think we can still beat West Ham or not, or think we're better than West Ham, it is still a London derby. So, as I said, it's going to be a fiery one. And then look at Newcastle. Newcastle just took Chelsea to the cleaners, 4-1. And they didn't seem like they had much trouble doing it. And Newcastle got a fair few injuries on them as well. Then last night, they go and get a draw with Paris Saint-Germain, which blatantly should have been a win. From what I saw, they got robbed there. But that's not my problem. So I'll leave that one to another day. But again, Newcastle, we all know they're good now. I mean, look what they did to us last year. And look what they're doing to other teams. So that's another very hard game we got there. Then with that, then it comes in, like I've said. Nottingham Forest. Now, Nottingham Forest is one we should do. We can get points out of that. But that's all going to also depend on, have we got any more injuries? Do we have any more bans come up? It's all going to depend on how well our team survives. But Nottingham Forest, I feel we can get something out of. Everton, I think, is going to be a trickier one than some people might realise. Because Everton now have definitely got a point to prove. With their 10 points deduction, it's putting them back into relegation. So they're now definitely fighting to get out of relegation. That's going to be a hard game as well. I mean, in the Premiership these days, what is not a hard game? And then after that, Brighton, we all know what Brighton are capable of. And Bournemouth is one I'd expect us to win even on a basic team. So it's not looking very bright at the moment, is it? It definitely isn't. So what can he do? He hasn't really got no options at the moment, except not for the City game, but for the other games where I think he's definitely got to try and give some of the younger ones a go. He's definitely got to try it. I mean, we've got that. What's the fella's name? Jamie Donnelly. And if I remember right, he's got something like 16, 17 goals and assists playing in the youth at the moment. If we're getting that stuck up front and who we're going to put in the middle, then maybe that's what we're going to have to do. Give some of the youth a try. I really don't see much more option that we've got, because we have not got an 11 on there that can last the whole 90 minutes. What's Daniel E saying here? We are getting torn apart either way. Yes, it's peak for us when we ain't winning the next three. It's what I said, mate. It's not going to be fun to watch, that's for sure. And yeah, Newcastle have injuries and they ain't playing fullbacks as central defenders, unlike us mugs. Exactly. That's very true. When it's at the point where, as backup, our best backup is two very bad left back and right back, I might say, playing as the centre backs, you know we got issues, don't you? So, yes. And morning, hope all's good. All good. Hope all's good with you as well, Spurs. So I think we're going to have to give the young ones a go. And when it comes to the game after City, sorry I'm so fidgety here. This one's in a bit of a fidgety mode herself. She usually just curls up and stays in one position. But she's on a bit of a fidgety one in the moment, isn't it? What's the matter with you? Yeah, we're definitely going to have to go and give the young ones a go, I reckon. After City, then I think is where, with Newcastle, we've got to go and try and give Dorrington a go as a start. Maybe his best time to give him a go would be alongside Romero, because at least he'll have a solid defender next to him. I know others will argue then, but okay, we've got Romero back so we can stick Davis in there. Okay. But again, not exactly a good choice of a centre-back, is it? And then you've got Royale and Dyer. If we don't give these young players a go, in a game or two, we're cutting ourselves for even more options. We're just giving ourselves no options at all until some players come back or until it comes to January and it sees who we can buy, who we can go for. So the point I'm getting at is I think Ange has a very big decision to make here. And I think he's got to give a couple of those youth academy a go, even if it's only for half hour in the second half for someone like DONLEY. Start off with Dorrington on the back with Romero. He's got to do something. He's got to have some sort of plan B to this for if he hasn't got his first pick team and half the rest of them are out as well. I don't envy the man in any way. But with what he did against Villa, I can't complain about it. I know a lot of people didn't like it, but I can't say I complain about it. So my next question is when we go to January, what do we do? What do we need to go for? First off, for me, it was an attacking midfielder to cover Maddison. And without doubt, 110%, same as I think everyone would agree, it's got to be a centre-back. But now you're starting to look at some of the injuries we're getting, and they're not short-term either. We need more than just one centre-back and one midfielder. All of a sudden, Son, not looking too sharp at the minute, is he? One thing I find you definitely do get with Son is he's a very patchy player. He'll have 6 or 7 games where he'll score 6 or 7 goals, 8 goals. And then all of a sudden, he'll go 5 or 6 games and you don't see nothing from him. I mean, 3 goals offside in the last game. And then I think he got caught offside another 2 times, 3 times even. He definitely wasn't with it then, was he? It definitely weren't 100% on him. And he's definitely, I'd say, a confidence player. When he's scoring, he's all happy and he'll start banging them in. As soon as he stops, he definitely slows down with it. So where do we go apart from Son up front? Richarlison's injured, and for me, he's not really an option anyway. The only other option we really got is to try and give that Verez a go, if that's how you pronounce his name. I'm terrible at pronouncing names. The young Argentinian youth we got. Is that where we're going to have to go to and give that a try up front? Or is it in January, we're also going to have to be looking for a striker as well? So a defender, a centre mid, or a playmaking cam, and then a striker. I don't see that happening. We're not going to spend that sort of money. We might get a midfielder and a defender, or a striker and a defender. Do I even think we'll get a striker? No, I don't, because they're too expensive. For what we've already got, for the young fella we got, for 15 million we paid for him, is it worth going out and spending another 20 million on someone who's to just possibly cover the cracks as such? I don't think that's worth it. I think we've still got options we can mess about with up front, but if we've got a blatant striker sitting there, then I don't see why we don't give it a go. We're going to have to start changing something. So I don't see a striker coming in January. One thing I do definitely see is a defender. One way or another, we need to get a defender on there. The thing we're already saying is, we're already hearing, they're already saying, but we got no money to spend. People are already starting to go off their head about it. Let's be realistic here. If you was a businessman, would you blatantly go on the telly and tell everyone, I've got a shitload of money in my back pocket and I'm going to spend it? You'd be an idiot if you did. Because then everyone's going to be asking from a 30 million player to make him a 45 million player. And then we get in the same situations that Chelsea, Man U and everyone else have been in all their lives, having to pay the extra 25% on top. So he's not going to state he's got money. But we all know that when it comes down to it, Levy can be a tight bastard. But I do think we're definitely going to get a centre-back coming. Question is, where are we going to get the centre-back? Now, there's the rumour at the moment on this fella. Jean-Claude, what's his name? Jean-Claude Tadibo, if I even pronounced that right. And from what I look here, Arsenal and Man U already been looking for the fella. Now, if Arsenal and Man U already over him, I don't think we stand much of a chance of getting him. Is it just one that looks good and Levy's saying that we're after the fella to try and keep people quiet? Because he does have a habit of doing that as well, doesn't he? Get us excited, keep us quiet. Yep, go for the player, go for him. Yep, we're on him. And then at the last minute, we can't get him. He then turns around and basically says, well, at least I tried. At least he tried. It's another trick that he does love to use, Mr. Levy, and we all, I'd say nearly all of us have a habit of falling for it. If we don't fall for it in the future, I think we can pretty much say most of us have fallen for it at one time or another. He nearly done it with Porro. And then things just got so hectic that he had to go and make sure the deal went through. I don't think he basically wanted that to go through. But with the way the fans said about it and the way Conte was going on at the time and that, he had to do something. So what's the question here I've got? What's the bare minimum you think we need? Because we don't spend. Like I was just saying, the bare minimum we need, without a doubt, is a central defender, if not two of them. A central defender is what we need at most. And then I would say we definitely need a centre mid, because if we also look at what's happening over December, January, we're going to be losing Son, Basuma and Sarr as well. And that's because of their national events they got to go on. That's not going to go down well either. Because again, we've got no backup in there. So we're going to have to do something in January, and we're going to have to do it fast. Because if we leave that till the end of January, like Spurs have the habit of doing, leave it all to the last minute, that's going to be half the games already out of the way. And you could say that could even be half the games we've even lost. Because we got no backup. We got no one to put there. So he's going to have to get this ready now. He's going to have to get it ready so that the contract is basically all but signed and done by January the 1st. Because if Mr. Levy and his men haven't got this sorted within, let's say the first 5 days of January, I think you're going to see a lot of Spurs fans out there, a lot of us out there with a very, very pissed off attitude. Because I'm not going to be too happy. And there's going to be a lot of people that I speak to on here that are not going to be too impressed either. So he's got to be doing some sort of work now. He's got to be, surely. If the man has got half a brain on his shoulders, he's already got to have his men out there looking, working, right. These are our problems. They're getting worse. We needed a defender anyway, so that don't take Einstein to work that one out. We're going to have to go and get that defender and make sure that defender is ready within the first 5 days of January. I mean, for me, that one's a no shit Sherlock. But then when does Levy or any of them ever make it easy? Is that obvious what we need? Is that obvious what we want? But does he ever seem to do it that way? No, he doesn't. So this is where I think quite a few of us are in, as I put it, in some sort of limbo. The whole question overall about Ange is he going to get backed overall? Now, for me, that doesn't just take 2 windows. That takes 4 or 5 windows before you start seeing how much a manager is going to get backed as a whole. But we definitely need it in January more than anything now. So we go for that centre-back. What sort of centre-back are we going to go for? Are we actually going to go for a decent centre-back that's going to fight his way into that team and want to fight for a first place in that team to try and take Romero's spot or Van der Ven's spot off him? Or are we just going to have another little centre-back that he's just going to sit back and keep quiet and just come on when he needs? I don't want that. I want us to get in a player that he's going to fight to get in the first 11 and he's good enough for the first 11. But that's where it'll be tricky. That's going to cost more money to get a player of that quality. And again, have we got that sort of money to spend? We all know Spurs have got the money. That's the most annoying thing. I mean, we've had one of the third biggest incomes in sport over the past 7 years. Not just football, but sport. But again, I repeat myself, it all goes down to the fact that we know Levy just don't work like that. So are we just going to go and get that little defender who can just come on here and there sort of thing and look like he's covering a space when actually it's something that Dorrington could have done the whole time? That's my question on that one. We do have a young fella there, like I've said, play on the youth academy, and he's doing extremely well, who we should give a chance. And then we definitely know what type of centre-back we need to go for. Maybe that Dorrington will be good enough to be our number 4, because I can't see him being no worse than Dyer. I just don't see how that's possible. I don't see him being any worse than Royale, because Royale's a right back, and he's not even good at that. So we're going to have to try and get that good defender in there, and that good defender that's going to want to get in that team. And then we've got to go to midfield. Now, there's already people talking about who we're going to sell. I think that word needs to just get forgotten right now. Sell, unless it's Eric Dyer. Or even Richarlison is one that I would still let go in January if we could get 15, 20 million for him. Because I think we've got enough backup up front to cover that side on the left or on the right. And Richarlison, he's another one like Dyer for me, who I just don't even think he's got the right to be on the Spurs pitch. He's just absolutely useless. People still talking about, are we going to sell Højbjerg? Now, from what I've read in the papers, or I say papers, on the internet, is that Levy's meant to have priced him out of a move with Juventus, because Juventus are supposedly very interested in him. And Levy's asking Juventus for around about £30 million, which I would say is a fair price for Højbjerg. But something that a lot of people don't seem to realise and seem to forget is not everywhere is the Premiership. Not even the big leagues anymore. Italy, 9 out of 10 teams there are in severe debt. They have not got much money to spend. Not even the big boys like Juventus, Inter Milan, AC Milan haven't had money for a long time. And there's no one else in Italy you can really state has got any money over the years, except maybe Juventus and possibly a bit of Inter Milan. But them two at the moment are in debt up to their eyeballs. So he definitely ain't going to be paying 30 mil for Højbjerg, and he might try and get him on a loan. I don't think we should let Højbjerg go. Not now. Now, if we can do something like get Calvin Phillips in on a loan or buy him, whatever way they want to do it, good, fine. Get him in there. But I still say keep Højbjerg, because it's already showing that over January, we're not going to have the depth through injuries and through players that are going to be out on an international basis. I think we need to keep Højbjerg more than ever now. Whether we're going to be playing him in the first 11 or whether he's going to be on the subs bench to come on every 60 minutes, we need to keep this man now. I know a lot of people don't dig him. I don't think he's as bad as people make out, but I know who I would rather have playing on that pitch out of Højbjerg and Skip. Because for me, Skip is another one who I would quite happily let go as well. I think he gets softened up too much because he came through the academy. For me, he's on the same. He had potential when he was younger. Yes, had an injury, looked very good at Norwich. And then ever since he's come back, he's been absolutely useless at Spurs. He's been terrible. I mean, the boy don't look half time he knows what he's doing. He don't even look like he can tackle at the best of times. And he's meant to be more of a defensive midfielder style player. He barely even knows how to pass the ball sideways. The only thing the man knows how to do is look backwards. So I would rather have Højbjerg on there. At least you've got a more experienced international player who you know can give it his all. No, you're not going to get a specialty out of him. But I don't think he's as bad as everyone makes out. If we now go and sell him in January, I think that would be a very stupid thing for us to do. Because we haven't got the cover. So where are we going to go from there? Who are we going to look at? What else to get in midfield? Phillips is the main one we're meant to be looking at. Now, if we look at him as well, he's had a couple of injuries over the past year and he's hardly even played a game at City. But he does still get into that England team. But then we know what Southgate's like. He quite happily still lets Maguire and Henderson in there. So I am a bit stuck at the moment on where do we turn to? Because we can't really sell up. People saying Lo Celso, yeah, they want him to go as well. I quite happily see the back of him. But again now, unless we go and get at least one solid centre mid, we can't let Celso go either. Because all it's going to take is that one other injury, and then we're literally past the skin and bones. We're down to the bone marrow on the pitch now, not even the skin and bones. So we're going to have to hang on to players for the meantime that we don't really want to keep. Because I don't see there's no way that we can sell them and get a player better in their place. Because January is a very hard time to make the transfers as well. Because a lot of other teams don't want to sell up because they're either in the same situation or it's in the middle of the season. Who wants to go selling their best players in the middle of the season? And I don't just want Spurs to go out and buy make-do players. We've done that too many times. And what are we going to do? Go and say spend 30, 40 million on two make-do players. So a 20 million defender, 20 million midfielder. Okay, we got a number there. We got numbers. But that's all they're going to be, numbers. And played in an emergency. So what happens when you then get to the start of the following season, when you want to buy the better players? And you've got someone like Levy there who says, well, we're already paying money for these players. We're already paying their wages. So it has to come off what we would put towards getting ourselves a solid player that could actually get into the first 11. So is it actually going to be better off that we don't even buy anything if he's only going to go for mediocre players just to fill the gap? Again, it's another question. I think we are really in a bit of a situation here, deeper than some might even realise. It's all good saying we want us to get a defender, we want us to get a midfielder, maybe a striker, whatever else we need. But then majority of us are all going to be sitting here at the same time saying we don't want that makeshift player, we don't want that make-do player. And then you're going to have other people sitting there and say, oh yeah, but it'll do for the meantime. Yeah, it's all good for the meantime, but then we can't get rid of them. And then that cuts the money off the better players we want to get. So where do we go? Is it as bad as it looks? Yeah, I think it is. That's not negative. I just think that's realistic. We are in a right predicament here at the moment. We want to improve our team. We want to become better. We want to become, I won't say title contenders. I mean, we'd all love it if we could do that. But we also at least want to become FA Cup contenders. At least have a chance of winning a bit of bloody silverware. I mean, even for a chance of getting in fourth place. For the first 11 we got, I think we can get in fourth place. But look at the injuries we've got. Look at the lack of depth in the squad we've got. Look at the consistency. So there's a place there in the top four for taking. But going and buying two mediocre makeshift players isn't going to do us any favours doing that either. And in the long run, it's doing us no favours either. So I want us to get a player in midfield and in defence at least, that he's going to be fighting for that number 11 place. But then we're at that point that's going to cost significant money. And it just keeps going round and round and round. Yeah, I think we're in more of a situation than people might realise. What are we going to go for in January? I don't know. I really don't know. What is Levy actually going to back Ange up with? I don't know. The only thing I can say definite that I think will definitely turn up is a centre-back. But is it going to be of the quality that we want? Is it going to be of the quality that we need? Well, if not, then we're back to the very start. He's got to start giving the youth boys a go. He's got to give us something to turn to. He's got to give himself an option. I mean, what just got said here? Yeah, the main thing we want to do is become more consistent. That word there, consistent, that for me is why if we can level things up a bit and say only be 4-5 points out of fourth place in January, make at least 2 good buys, ride January with the international games that are going to be there with Son, Basuma, Sarr, and get through to February with, let's say 5 points behind fourth place. I think we can, if we have that bit of luck on our side as well, go through and get a fourth place. Because apart from Liverpool, Arsenal, and obviously Man City, I don't see no other consistent teams out there. Man City stepped up a gear just lately, but they're definitely not consistent. Newcastle, good, but not consistent. Villa, very good at home, been very poor away until they played us, but not consistent. There is no set team out of that top three that is consistent enough to say that they basically own fourth place. That is why I think we can still do it. But it is all going to come down to the next 2 months now on how we ride out these next 7 games and who we buy in the first 5 days of January. Because again, if it's not done until the end of January and we've got another 3 defeats on us then even if we get consistent, I think we're going to be too far behind to even look at a top 4 place. At the start of the season, if anyone on here would have said to me, or I would have said to anyone on here, that right here and now, we would be in 5th place and 4 or 5 points away from the top. I can't remember what it is, 4 or 5. I'd have snapped your hand off straight away. So is it that bad? Yeah, we are in a situation where it is that bad. But from what we would have expected off the start of the season, we weren't expecting what we got. So have we got our hopes up too high? Yes, some people definitely did, didn't they? Not many, but some people definitely going on how they think we can actually go for the title. For a lot of people, I think that was just a joke anyway. But some people truly believe in it. And then the negative people, shall I say, like me and practically 90% of other people that I talk to on here and on the side, then we all get labelled as the negative ones. And then when it goes wrong, we all get labelled as the idiots, as the ones standing out there screaming their mouth off that we was going to go for the title. You can't win if you do. You can't win if you don't, basically. But we was never going for that title. But yeah, the situation we're in, it is as bad as it looks. Sorry to be the negative one. It is. Are we going to change that? Fingers crossed is the only one I can say on that one. Who knows? We might go on another crazy streak of win 5 games on the trot and then we're right back up there in 2nd place. We've only just seen it. Only took 3 games to take us from 1st place to 5th place. But that is what we shall see by the end of December, start of January. Who are we going to go for? Well, that's why I'm going to cut it short and sweet, because there's not a lot else I can say on it, because I honestly don't know where we're going to go. It's all about hope now. Have we got the hope? Well, if you ain't got hope, you ain't got nothing. But when you've been a Tottenham supporter for 37 years like I have, hope is a very strong word. But just to answer any questions, I do think we will definitely get a centre-back. Will it be of the quality? We shall see. But one thing we will definitely see is a centre-back. Anything else, let's just hope it's not a hit and hope. Either way, give us a like and subscribe, people. Be appreciated. I'm going to cut it short because I'm starting to get a bit strangled here as well now. And when me and Tom do a show again, Tom will be on here tomorrow doing his own show as he always does. And then we will see everyone after the City game on a Sunday. So take care, people. Take it easy and speak to you again soon. Take it easy.